Village of a quantum, respect was not taught with words. It was taught with silence, with posture, with the way young people lowered their eyes when elders passed. Even the wind seemed to slow when old men spoke, as if listening was a sacred duty. This was how the village had survived generations of hunger, war, and forgetting, but Adama did not slow for anyone. She walked through a quantum as if the red earth belonged to her feet alone. Her wrapper was always fine, her hair carefully braided, her voice sharp and confident. She was young, beautiful, and wealthy by village standards, and she wore her status like armor. Where others greeted, she ignored. Where others bowed, she stared straight ahead. People whispered when she passed, "That girl has no fear." Some said, "That girl has no respect." Others answered, Adama heard the whispers and smiled. Fear and respect, to her, were weaknesses invented by the poor to control the strong. Her parents had died early, leaving her cocoa farms and palm land that brought steady money. She never struggled the way others did. Hunger never trained her patience. Hardship never softened her voice. From childhood, she learned that money bends people faster than kindness ever could. When elders advised her, she laughed. When women corrected her, she mocked them. When children crossed her path, she shouted at them for existing. No one challenged her. Not because she was right, but because confrontation brought trouble. And Adama enjoyed trouble when she was the one causing it. One morning, the village woke to the sound of drums calling people to the square. A market day. Women spread cloths on the ground. Men carried yams and baskets. The air filled with bargaining voices and dust. Adama arrived late, as always, walking through the crowd without apology. A man stepped aside too slowly, and she shoved him. "Watch where you stand," she snapped. The man bowed his head and said nothing. Near the old baobab tree, an old woman sat alone. Her back was bent, her wrapper faded, her hair white like ash. Before her were a few dried herbs and roots laid carefully on a mat. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes were calm. She watched Adama approach. Adama stopped in front of her and frowned. "Why are you sitting in my way?" she demanded. The old woman looked up slowly. "My daughter, the ground belongs to us all." A few villagers froze. No one spoke to Adama like that. Adama laughed sharply. "Do you know who you are talking to?" The old woman nodded. "I see you clearly." Something about the way she said it unsettled the air. The market noises dimmed, just a little. Adama felt heat rise in her chest. She hated being challenged, especially by someone so small, so old, so poor. "Move," Adama ordered. The old woman did not move. Instead, she gathered her herbs closer to her body. "My legs are tired," she said gently. "I will move when they allow me." That was when Adama lost control. Before anyone could stop her, she raised her hand and slapped the old woman across the face. The sound cracked through the market like a broken branch. Silence fell. The old woman collapsed sideways, her herbs scattering into the dust. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Women covered their mouths. Men stepped back in fear. Adama stood breathing hard, her hand still raised. "Learn your place," she said coldly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wind shifted, the baobab leaves rustled though the air was still. A strange chill passed through the square. The old woman slowly sat up, touching her cheek. There was no anger on her face. Only sadness. "My daughter," she said softly, "you have struck more than flesh." Adama scoffed. "Threats from an old beggar mean nothing to me." The old woman stood with difficulty. As she did, the ground beneath her feet seemed to darken slightly, as if shadow gathered there by choice. "Go," the old woman said. Enjoy your strength while it lasts. Adama turned away, laughter sharp and dismissive, but her steps slowed as whispers followed her. She slapped an elder. She slapped a stranger. She slapped something she did not understand. That night, Adama could not sleep, her room felt heavy. The air pressed against her chest. When she closed her eyes, she saw the old woman's calm gaze, unbroken, unafraid. Outside, dogs howled for no clear reason. The moon hid behind clouds, somewhere in the forest, something ancient stirred, and the spirit of a quantum began to remember her name. The morning after the slap did not rise gently over a quantum. The sun came late, hiding behind a veil of grey clouds, and the air carried a heaviness that pressed against every chest. Chickens refused to leave their coops. Goats bleated nervously, tugging at their ropes. Even the children, usually loud before dawn, stayed indoors as if warned by an unseen voice. Adama woke with a sharp pain in her head. She sat up suddenly, breath racing, her heart pounding like a drum struck too hard. Sweat soaked her wrapper though the room was cold. For a moment, she did not know where she was. The walls of her house seemed closer than usual, leaning inward, listening. Then she remembered the market. The old woman, the slap. Adama scoffed and swung her legs off the bed. Nonsense, she muttered to herself. Dreams and fear. But when she stood, the floor felt soft beneath her feet, almost like damp soil instead of packed earth. She looked down, startled. The sensation vanished immediately, leaving only cold ground and unease. She dressed quickly and stepped outside. The village greeted her with silence. Doors that usually opened at her passing remained shut. Eyes watched her from behind curtains and wooden frames. A woman who was sweeping paused and turned her back. Two men talking by the road stopped mid-sentence and walked away. Adama felt irritation rise. Stupid people, she said aloud. They fear old bones and market gossip. She walked toward the square, lifting her chin proudly. But with every step, the air grew thicker. Her ears rang faintly, like distant singing carried on wind she could not feel. At the edge of the market ground, she stopped. The baobab tree looked different. Its trunk, once strong and wide, was marked with deep cracks that had not been there before. Its leaves hung lower, darker, whispering though the branches barely moved. Beneath it, the mat where the old woman had sat lay empty, but the earth was blackened, as if burned from below. A shiver crept up Adama's spine. Tricks, she whispered, though her voice trembled. She turned away, determined not to let fear embarrass her, but her foot caught on something unseen. She fell hard, scraping her palm against the ground. Pain flared sharply. When she pushed herself up, she froze. Her blood did not look normal. It was darker than it should have been, almost thick, and it soaked into the earth unnaturally fast, disappearing as if swallowed. Adama staggered back, breathing hard. From somewhere behind her, a voice spoke, "My daughter." She spun around. The old woman stood a few steps away. Her clothes were the same faded wrapper. Her back still bent. Yet something about her presence felt heavier now, deeper, as though the space around her bowed inward. Her eyes shone, reflecting light that did not exist. "You," Adama hissed. "How dare you follow me?" The old woman's gaze dropped to Adama's injured palm. "The earth remembers what touches it," she said quietly. Adama laughed, but the sound broke halfway. "Are you threatening me again?" The old woman shook her head slowly. "I warned you." A sudden wind rushed through the square, lifting dust and leaves into spinning circles. Stalls rattled. Mats flipped. The baobab groaned. its branches creaking like old bones. Villagers gathered at a distance, whispering prayers, fear etched into their faces. Adama backed away. "Stop this!" shouted. "You think you can scare me with tricks?" The old woman lifted her head. For a brief, terrifying moment, her shadow stretched unnaturally long, splitting into many shapes that twisted and moved on their own. The air grew cold enough to sting skin. "I am not here to scare you," the old woman said, her voice now layered, echoing softly. "I am here because you broke a law older than your pride." The ground trembled. Adama screamed as cracks spread beneath her feet, thin but fast, like veins opening in the earth. She stumbled and fell again, her strength draining as if pulled from her bones. "Please," she gasped, clutching the dirt. "Stop." The old woman stepped closer. Each step silenced the wind, stilled the shaking ground. "You struck what you did not see," she said. "You disrespected what protects you. Now you will learn what power truly is." Adama's vision blurred. Images flooded her mind, faces of elders she had insulted, children she had chased away, villagers she had humiliated. Their eyes watched her, silent, disappointed. "No," Adama cried. "I am strong. I fear no one." The old woman raised her hand, not to strike, but to reveal. Her form shimmered. The bent back straightened. The frail body expanded, glowing faintly like fire beneath skin. Her eyes burned gold. Symbols like moving smoke traced across her arms and forehead. The villagers fell to their knees. "Spirit," they whispered. The spirit's voice roared like distant thunder. "Strength without respect is decay." Adama screamed as the earth swallowed her ankles, then her knees. Cold, heavy soil wrapped around her legs, pulling her down slowly, deliberately. "Forgive me," she sobbed. "I didn't know." The spirit's gaze softened slightly. "Ignorance does not erase harm." With a final gesture, the spirit released her. The ground closed. Leaving Adama collapsed, shaking, covered in dirt and fear. The spirit's form faded, shrinking back into the fragile shape of the old woman. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "The lesson is not yet complete." Then she turned and walked toward the forest, dissolving into mist as she went. The wind stopped. The village remained frozen in silence. Adama lay on the ground, broken, her pride shattered like dry clay, and everyone knew the spirits had answered. Adama did not rise from the ground immediately after the spirit vanished. She lay where she had fallen, her body trembling as if the earth still held her. Dirt clung to her skin. Her wrapper was torn. Her once proud posture had collapsed into something small and afraid. Around her, the villagers stood in a wide circle, uncertain whether to approach or flee. No one mocked her, no one celebrated her fall. Fear had replaced anger. An elder finally stepped forward, his walking stick tapping softly against the earth. "Carry her home," he said quietly. "What follows is not for the market ground." Two women helped Adama to her feet. She did not resist. She did not speak. Her eyes stared ahead, unfocused, as if still watching the spirit disappear into the forest. That night, a quantum did not sleep. The wind moved strangely, circling houses instead of passing through. Lamps flickered without reason. Dogs whimpered and refused to lie down. In Adoma's house, the air grew heavy and cold, pressing down on her chest as she lay on her mat. When she closed her eyes, the visions returned. She saw herself standing tall while others bowed. She heard her own laughter, sharp and cruel. She watched herself slap the old woman again and again, each time louder, each time more final. Then the visions changed. She was poor. She was hungry. She was old. She reached out for help, and people walked past her face the way they had walked past Samoa in other stories. The way Adama herself had done countless times. Her mouth opened to speak, but no sound came out. She woke screaming. For days, Adama's strength drained away. Her food lost its taste. Water did not quench her thirst. Her skin grew dull. Her hair lost its shine. She tried to walk, but her legs weakened, shaking beneath her weight. Healers came and went, shaking their heads. "This is not sickness," one said. "This is judgment," whispered another.